talk about face off with the tools and technologies on AI and ML and data analytics.
What actually I'm going to talk to you what exactly artificial intelligence is all about, what are the limitations of it, how to compare human intelligence with machine intelligence, and again we already seen the case study by Mr. Venkateshwara Rao. It's very interesting use case where AI is actually in application on this one. But most of anyway, I'll talk to you about like especially what is missing in AI is more semantic aspects of it. I keep telling you, I have a lot of screenshots taken from LinkedIn, YouTube's, this one, okay, where AI can go wrong, because it understands the image recognition, it will work better. But when it comes to this understanding the semantic stuff, it's a bit long way to go. Okay, I think all of you know what are the technology changes. If you are not following the technology, you are going to be absolute. You know that digital camera was invented by Kodak, but Kodak itself went bankrupt, because they were in their own this one. In fact, this is again interesting. Steve Jobs, Apple, it destroyed the complete Finland's, this one. So, paper industry as well as smartphone industry, and there are quite a number of examples. I'll just quickly. And again, you must have heard about this. Artificial intelligence will take almost 47% of the job in 2020. See, there are a lot of debate on this. But what I believe, the scale of machines is much higher than the human being, because the impact will be much. So for example, you must have seen some of the videos which were circulated on WhatsApp. Suppose you create a very miniature drones, very small drones, of a size of a flies or something, and you synchronize them. They can penetrate anywhere. If you program them to move anywhere, it's very difficult. If there's some lethal weapon kept on the, so here, it's very difficult to control because scale of replication in machines is much faster. You see typically a worm or virus spreads very fast. Worms, they can actually infect millions of machines in just 1 hour or so because the scale is very fast, and that's why the scary thing is that scale, because we cannot just sit with a doctor and become a doctor. You need to spend almost 4 or 5 years to become a doctor. That means the replication of human knowledge from one person to another person is a long-term process. But imagine if you have a chess program, you can copy it millions of times. You can download it millions of times. That means the scale of replication will be much higher and okay, and again there was a lot of wheel automation turn on. In fact, I have been telling IT industry last 7-8 years because I did my PhD in artificial intelligence in 2000, this one, and especially on neural network and this one. Cloud computing and automation, these are the two biggest threats to Indian IT industry, because cloud computing, now imagine those who are from IT side, configuring Windows 12 machine, it takes at least 1 hour or so. But if you go on a cloud, you can configure your machine in just 10 minutes. As an IT person, I understand what pain I have gone through. We started with when there was only 2 floppy drives machine. Now when you want to install say Windows 2012 as an operating system, it takes a lot of time. But on cloud, it just 10 minutes your machine is ready. You can configure your RAM, you can configure your hard disk and everything. Why you need support engineers to manage the technology? And your data centers can be anywhere. They can be on a, in fact Google, they said their servers are on the ships. They are floating servers. That means the people can be serviced from anywhere. So when system moved from distributed computing to centralized computing, there were a lot of change in number of people. Like take an example of State Bank of India. So if you have 10,000 branches and you are managing 10,000 distributed setup, you needed people to manage at every branch. A system administrator, database administrator. Now when systems move from distributed to centralized, the number of people required to manage the technology drastically reduces. So this is an impact of cloud computing. And second is automation. Because a lot of things, mundane things that we are going to do. In fact, one of the conferences I see a lot of database vendors are integrating AI directly into their databases. So imagine suppose Oracle integrates AI directly into their databases. Why you need a database administrator to fine tune our database? It can be automatically, just like antiviruses, once you install the antivirus, it automatically picks up the latest definition, everything. You don't need to do. That means the number of people required to manage the technology will drastically reduce, because the technology themselves become more smarter. You don't need a manual intervention. And if you have heard about this RPA, what is robotic process? I think there's some time. So what is robotic process automation? The things that we do manually, can the machines automatically do? So for example, if you are an HR person and you want to send, interview call letters to thousands of people, you can automate now. Whenever response comes through email, you can process them automatically. That means the number of people required to manage the technology drastically reduces. And RPA, you must be like some of the vendors, Automation Anywhere, you know how much they are charging? They are literally charging 70 lakhs rupees per server per year. That's the cost, you know, per server. Because their value proposition is simple. If 10 people are working, doing this job, I can get the same job done by 4 people. That means what indirectly you are saying? You are reducing the, that means there will be a problem on, especially the routine jobs will be taken care of machines. Why you need a person to read the email? The machine can directly, especially if it is a typical email coming, you know, this one, then it can be done. And in fact, I don't know whether you heard about this IP soft. You know, this is started by one of the Indian professor, Chetan Dubey in New York. This company claims that they can automate almost 40-50% of the infrastructure automation job. That means you don't need a manual intervention. The system will automatically decide what to do, you know, in the given context. No? So, for example, we work on a similar project with L&T Infotech. Like a typical use case, suppose you have only 10 MB data left on your hard disk. So what typically we do? We go on deleting temporary files. Okay. So can that be automatically done by system without even your this one? That means the infrastructure management jobs, depending on, say for example, if your CPU usage is exceeding say 95%, can system take some steps and kill the applications which are not required? So this is what we are trying to automate, the jobs which are typically done by human beings. But which jobs will not be taken up? Like creative jobs. Anyway, I'll come to that. Okay, and that's why if you see the NASSCOM's tough time ahead, in fact you must be reading a lot of news. NASSCOM has already, you know, downgraded the forecast because Indian IT industry, with due respect to whatever we call as IT superpower, but we are mostly service driven. That's why if you listen to AM Naik of L&T Infotech, sorry, not Infotech, L&T, he says what we have turned all these engineers into cyber police. So after studying mechanical engineering, finally you go and do the coding there, you know. So not, sometimes it's just managing because like as I said, when I sit on the interview panel, one girl I remember, she had very good score in, she was from VGTI, very excellent, and what she is doing in Infosys is doing some back-end job, you know. So what is the use of that particular talent? After learning, you know, in such a premier institute, and you are just doing a back-end job, it's not, you know, respect. So this is like, and again, these jobs will be, you know, taken care of. Okay, this is again why this is important. Just like Pawan was talking about, he's building a blockchain kind of technology which can actually connect the players. So what Uber does, what these people are doing. Like world's largest taxi company owns no vehicle. Facebook, world's most popular media, creates no content. Who is creating the content? In fact, it's surprising. LinkedIn was valued at $25 billion. Take from the technology perspective, what they do is just make the platform available. Who create the content? In fact, it's our content and we have to pay to them. You know, this is not funny. Like if I want to see how many people are looking at my profile, I should be paying to them. Now we are only looking at this power of, you know, digital kind of, you know, this one. Similarly, ANPN, actually, you must be knowing, speaking up in India quite a bit, you know, faster pace. And their transaction model is, you know, they get direct money, you know. They charge, I think, some percentage of whatever money you are paying to, you know, while renting and elsewhere. I think the technology change. I'm not going to, like, some of the technologies are becoming absolute. The change of technology is very fast. So this definition I like, you know, just the scientific understanding of mechanisms underlying thought and intelligent behavior and their embodiment in machines. That means, can we understand the way we solve the problem, the way we reason the problem, and can that be embodied into machines? That means, can that you know, be put into machines so that machine become more intelligent? This is a classical definition of artificial intelligence. And what are the three different ways? I think you must be knowing. Gary Kasparov lost with the Deep Blue machine in 1997. That was the first you know, respan. Because this machine was capable of doing, see, where our limitations are there? We cannot do computation much faster than machine. So if you have this was a parallel computing machine, Deep Blue, it can do, you know, trillions of transactions in a fraction of a second where we have limitations. Indirectly, what machine can carry a lot of combinations and play very optimal combination. The second case, I think, what is this? Show. This is a first quiz show, Rhapsody, where the machine actually did well. This was a IBM Watson machine, you know. That was the first case where the machine actually did better compared to human. And third one is, I think, what is this? This AlphaGo. You know, this is Google's. You know, this problem is so complex. They said it's the combinations are more than total number of atoms in this universe. So can you, even if you take chess as an example, the number of combinations are very huge, and for us it's very difficult to carry out that combination. But what is the advantage to machine? Machine can actually literally think of much ahead. And this is the first time this is called as a reinforcement learning. First two approaches where you actually training the system. Reinforcement learning means let the system learn on its own. So for example, suppose you want a robot to navigate through this room, what do? You just leave the robot here, robot starts walking. Moment robot encounters some obstacle, it's a punish. That means you have taken the wrong path. It actually backtracks. Then it moves. Now when it's moving, it's actually going ahead. That means it's actually rewarded. So what machine does? With this punishment and reward and this one, it learns what is the right thing I should be doing. That's a wheel. It's a trial and error. If we fail, we again don't go by that. We try different this one. So this is typically reinforcement learning. That means let the machine, but in all practical domains it's not possible. Gaming and everything is possible. You cannot see. Imagine if you want a robot surgeon to do the operations on human beings and let them kill. That's not possible. You cannot have a reinforcement learning that way. But in some controlled environment, it is possible. See, for example, if you are taking chess game, in fact, Google's this AlphaGo, it learned the entire chess game in just 4 hours. Much complex, because it carried out all the combination. It learned from which combination works, which combination doesn't work, and then next time it will go on, making more this one. Okay, so artificial intelligence, if you see the current trend, people just understand only deep learning and chatbots. I was talking in the morning, like somebody from Visakhapatnam, they sent me to see the curriculum, and semantics were completely missing. Like genetic algorithm is very much part and parcel of artificial intelligence. But you see, most of the people don't, even fuzzy logic is important. Why fuzzy? Like one of the application you mentioned, like PV Sindhu, or say my name, Rajendra M. Sonar. So I can spell my name different way. I can say RM Sonar, Sonar Rajendra M. So that means, is it something similar kind of this one, or some like SoundX function, What is SoundX function says? Like when I say a particular, say Preeti, so P-R-I-T-I or P-R-E-E-T-I, so it says it's sounding like similar. Or Google sometimes does, did you mean kind of, this one. So they are all part of, this one. And there are a lot of disciplines which are part of that. If you see like mathematics, computer science, information systems, statistics, pattern recognition, these are all part of artificial intelligence. And we are looking at like some of the part of it. This was an Alan Turing test. I will not go into details of, but what this test was designed long back. I think it's 50s or something. So there are two compartments. One compartment is operated by a computer operated by a human. Another compartment is automated. And this interrogator who is actually asking the question, he doesn't know whether the machine is automated or machine is operated by. If he fails to distinguish between two, that means that machine is as good as human beings. But still it's not possible. Why? Because our reasoning, our conceptual understanding, our context is completely different than the machine. Especially when we ask the question, or there's a lot of fuzziness or ambiguity when we say something. So for example, if you happen to be from Jaipur versus you are happening to from Srinagar, your definition of climate can be different. Somebody says today's temperature is very hot, or his marks are very good, or his income is good. These are all subjective. Suppose I am merely getting 40-50% marks in my academic career and my friend gets 60% marks. What I say? Hey, my friend has got very good marks. While somebody is getting say 80% throughout his academic career, his definition of good and bad marks is different. So there are a lot of subjectivity, ambiguity is there. For example, when we explain that thing, I occasionally go there, I sometimes go there, I go once in a while. So these are all words which makes it fuzzy, because machines expect very structured kind of data, and that's why fake news is a problem for Facebook and other, because it's very difficult to understand. Somebody writes a tweet, whether that tweet is real or fake. Similarly, see what happens, even slangs. Suppose कोई आपको गाली देता है, we immediately understand it, but can machine understand इसको गाली दे रहा है? No, machine will interpret this is something good. In fact, I tried some of the translation in Google. There is word, I was actually looking for, we were developing some fruit recognition system, and I put a word peach, P-E-A-C-H. Google still picked up as a slang. 2016, I actually gave the same thing, I can show you the screenshot. Today also, that means it has not picked up the right word, it has picked up the slangs. You know the slangs, they mean something else. Now why it is difficult? In fact, one of the interesting, recently, I just wrote, you know what Google Gmail does? Suppose you are writing an email, please find attached file, and you forgot, what happens? It reminds. But I actually entered PFA. You just try, Google fails. Because it has not understood PFA is also an alternate word when people write. Now how you can make the system intelligent? Now where the explicit knowledge comes into picture. You know that typically when people write, you know, please find attached, this is also a word people write. Now Google will never find it out. If they want to do, they can do. See, for example, what will happen, you know, and it literally happened recently to me. Then I came to know Google doesn't understand PFA because it might not have picked up. Now how you can incorporate? Somebody can incorporate, look, if there is a word called PFA dot dot or something like that, it means the person is intending to send some attachment and he has forgotten. Now how Google can find out? They can find out, in fact they are predicting your English text also, you know, what you are going to type next. So what probably they can do, how many times person wrote PFA and he sent another email immediately saying that I forgot attachment. There where you can build the intelligence, you know, but they should. Or other intelligence, more common sense. See, I tell a lot of use cases to practitioners. Take an example of, say I sign a check of 50,000 rupees on a Raheja builder and it goes to my Canara Bank savings account. What it means? When I am signing a check of Raheja builder, that means my intention is buying a real estate. Now what is the connection between that check and bank? Bank is in the business of giving loan and deposit. That means there is a connect. The system should immediately wake up, hey, Professor Sonar has an intention of buying a flat, let me check with him whether he wants a loan. Now if you want to implement, do you really need a big data to address this case? No. There are a lot of common sense rules you can incorporate into system so that system actually understands. You don't need, see what I mean, you don't have to really wait for data to this one because there is a cold start problem. What is cold start problem? That I am starting an e-commerce site first time, I don't have data. Now am I going to sit idle and don't do anything? You can still use the experiences of the people to cross-sell something to this one, to upsell, you know, because that's what human experience, you know. Okay, so this Turing, and why? Turing believed that by end of last century it should have been possible to program a digital computer, but modern fastest computer could not do it, and because of multiple reasons, you know, that is why. But because of computing power of today's machines make it possible, and a lot of, like as I said, APIs are available, like Amazons are already providing a lot of train, like what Mr. Venkateswara was telling, a lot of database of 2 billion people, names are already analyzed. That means you don't have to reinvent the thing, somebody has already trained the network or neural networks or deep learning, you can reuse in the current context. So what I mean here, you don't have to train the neural network unless until your application is very specific. So for example, morning Dr. B.K. Murthy was telling, like suppose a farmer captures the you know, say insect picture or disease picture of a crop, then you need a specific kind of application because that's not a face recognition application. That's very specific to crop diagnosis. So you need to train the neural network for that. Okay, I'll just skip some part. So what is broader if you look at artificial intelligence? Sorry, I had a so here AI is more broader, like early artificial, and then machine learning you can treat as a subset. So if you go back to this one, okay, here neural network will be subset of artificial intelligence. There are a lot of other things which are part of that. In fact, genetic algorithm has also a lot of applications. I use genetic algorithm extensively, you know, especially in optimizing the thing. Like Japan's bullet train was designed by genetic algorithm because it creates the combination we can never imagine, you know, the result. Because what are our limitations? Suppose you are given the parameter. Say take an example of you want to find out the shortest path from say Mumbai kind of city, or you want to advise if you want to go from IIT campus to South Bombay, you know, what is the best way to reach there? I have only 50 rupees. Now can genetic algorithm suggest you the right? Now Google, and I think if you know, Google actually also suggests, you know, like shortest path. It also tells which bus you should connect and so on, you know. So such applications you can address using genetic algorithm kind of, you know, and what is deep learning? Basically, it's mostly used in image recognition kind of application because it understands the features in deep. Like morning we saw the demo. Like when two faces, even if the pictures are slightly different, but it has learned the features, how your nose look like, how your eyebrow look like, and to a certain extent it can actually tell this is the same shape. That is typically through deep learning because you have to understand the features at a deeper level, you know, and that's how you can, even suppose you have a twins images, unless until there are some distinct feature, even if there is one or two distinct feature, the machine can say this image is different than another image. That's what the deep learning actually does. And this is, if you have time, this read. There's a professor called. Have you heard about the website called How Stuff Works? There's a website www.howstuffworks. The founder of that website is Professor Marshall Brain. He has written very interesting article, The Robotic Nation. And this article I read almost 8-9 years back. He said, or he says, by 2030, 2035, you can buy a robot at the same price you are buying a PC today, and that robot will do almost everything for you. And it's no nonsense. He gives a lot of rationale behind that, and he says 50% of the US retail industry will be replaced by robots. Because wherever you think there is a structured job, the machines can take over. Because you don't need a creativity there. What you need a repetitive kind of this one. So once you understand how to do the things, the machine can actually go on doing it. So these are some examples from that, like nearly every construction job will go to robot. That's about 6 million job loss. Nearly every manufacturing job will go to robot. So this is an interesting article, just read it. And he gives a lot of rationale behind that, because the Moore's law, every 18 months the computing power doubles. And if the quantum computing comes into picture, then it will like lot of boost. Because the computations will be, still you have a lot of limitation, like you need a GPU kind of, processing unit if you are using neural network, because the combinations are very high and so on. Okay, so this is like interesting. To add to the over 50 million jobs to the robots, the conservative estimate by 2050 or so, it's likely to over half of the job in United States will be held by robots. That's what the prediction is. Okay, but of course, it will create a job somewhere else. But this jobs creation will not be as high as it was. That's what I'm saying. Because it will see where it creates a job. Look at the drones. Now drones have created a lot of other jobs. For example, people use for events, weddings, and this one. Similarly, if you go to say Mumbai, Gateway of India, or Juhu Beach, you will find the people with portable printer. That means it has given the job to this one. So it will create a job, but jobs, of course, analytics is a lot of jobs will be created. But the limitations, especially in machine learning, you need to model each and every problem every time. Now face recognition is it's already trained. But if you want to recognize the land encroachment, if you want to recognize the forest, deforestation, or you want to say build a model which actually finds out the, what happened after the disaster or something, then you need to model. And you cannot you build a model on State Bank of India's data, you cannot use it for Punjab National Bank, because the demographics can be different. So for machine learning, the limitation will be, especially I'm talking from the modeling context. Like you need to remodel, depending on the different data, you need to remodel and so on. Okay, so this slide is important. So if you want to compare human intelligence versus machine intelligence, now what is the issues with human intelligence? We have biological limitations. That means you cannot see certain things behind a particular distance. We cannot see at the night. We cannot see more than 30 frames a second. But if you look at the Discovery Channel, their cameras can actually see 2000 frames a second, and sometimes they do it in intervals. So we have limitation on vision, we have limitation on audio. We cannot actually listen the ultrasonic or whatever, kind of this one. Their machines can actually help us. Or you cannot just go on a sky and look at the, what satellites do. They can actually look at the things from the top. Can we do that? No, we cannot even fly like birds, or we cannot even. But if you see the drones can now go anywhere. So that means our biological limitations can be taken care by machines. What we cannot see, machines can see. What we cannot sense, machine can sense. So this biological limitation. What is the other problem with our human? This one, like characteristics, or we can say, for example, we are subjective sometimes. What is meant by subjectivity? The same kind of problem or same. So if I take my say legal case with 10 lawyers, or my medical case with 10 doctors, there may be difference in opinion, because it depends on your subjective expertise, it depends on your experience and so on. So, but machines are not like. Machines typically are programmed, and they will give the same output if the same program is this one. Okay, so here if you look at objectivity, behavior, then missing common sense, sometimes we don't use. Where the common sense misses, take an example, I have a credit card, which credit card limit is 5 lakhs rupees. Now I am swiping a card for 5,000 rupees. Why should I get a call from SBI? Hey, do you want to convert your 5,000 rupees EMI? It's total nonsense. Why? Because your credit card limit is 5 lakhs and you are giving me call for what? 5,000 rupees. You know, that means this is just wasting. That means you are not trying to it's a rule-based system. What is rule-based system? Anybody swipes the card, ask for EMI. You know, there are a lot of examples. In fact, we had a workshop for CIOs and Mr. Mahapatra, he was that time SBI CIO. I showed him his own messages. I said, look, you gave me encashment offer and you went on showing me that encashment offer for every week for next 3 months. I said, is it not a nonsense or is it not a bothering me? Money is dear to everybody. One message is enough. Do you agree or not? When you are in a need of money, you will search, hey, SBI ka kuch to message tha. You know, why you want to, again, you swipe a card for 3 times and I will give you 150 rupees. Tell me, if I am having a 2.25 lakh salary, will I go and swipe my card 3 times just to get 150 rupees? This one? Is it not something that means we are trying to push everything to everybody without even understanding whether that person needs or not? You know, I will show you some screenshot where the things go. Now, what is the advantage of machines? Machines scale, speed, size, memory, and no time and space constraint. You know, machines can go on the Mars, we cannot go, you know. So machines can go in all kinds of environment where we have biological limitations. We cannot survive in certain, you know, cases, you know, where the machines can respond. And technology advantage like complexity and high precision. The technology advantage is very high precision. That's why you see sometimes when the machines are interpreting the cancers and this one, they are much better. Because when somebody looks at an X-ray, while machine looks at X-ray, it will look at more depth. Because the pixel, see, we have limitation on vision. So when I am looking at this, what is my vision? There will be limitation. But if I have very high resolution cameras, what will happen? It will go much deeper. So some characteristic you may not recognize using your naked eyes, but the cameras can actually do it, you know. So there, this can be, like machines can do better. And transparency, objectivity and consistency, you know. Like IT brings a lot of transparency, that's advantage. But what is the disadvantage of machine learning? And that's what I will show you. It lacks abstraction, it lacks meaning and concept. It doesn't understand. There's an interesting article. If you type limitations of deep learning, it's a very interesting article. You know, it actually talks about how human intelligence makes the abstraction. A simple use case I keep telling, why CAPTCHA is always a funny. You know, CAPTCHAs are always, you know, not straight. Why? Because machines cannot interpret them. If your CAPTCHAs are straight like a typewritten character, what happens? You can write an OCR or image recognition software and can recognize. Similarly, have you seen IRCTC CAPTCHA? Usually, you cannot build a machine. Suppose I write a CAPTCHA. Look, my CAPTCHA is 4 characters and these 4 characters are located at the 4 corners of image which is displayed above. I can give in writing, no machine will work in this context. Because machine has to understand first NLP, machine has to understand the text, it has to understand what is meant by corners, machine has to understand what is meant by above image, and then it has to look what are the 4 corners. Now imagine in one corner I write A smaller, in another corner I write B bigger, machine will fail. Why our intelligence work? Because we work simultaneously on many contexts. We can listen, we can put the things in perspective, while machines don't, because they are trained only to recognize certain things. So if there is a machine which is recognize only face, it will only recognize. It will not even look at what is outside the face, you know, this one. Okay. Then another is this one. Natural language. See, English was not invented for machine. English was invented for us, or natural language. I think down the line we should invent a language which machines understand first and then we understand. Otherwise, machines are, that's why most of the times machines fail to interpret the language. And I can show you some lot of examples. See what happens when vendors give you demo, they give you goody example. Just use yourself and twist it. Then you can realize, because demo versions are different than the practical versions, you know, this one, and things don't work. Then they tell, okay, your sentence should have been written like this. Why you are expecting that? As a human beings, you know, if you go to Book My Show or something, just go to reviews. People write very funny reviews, and there is a mix of language. That means they will use Hindi words when they are writing English. Now tell me how your big data is going to tell me. If it doesn't understand these nuisances, one fake, this one interpretation can actually create a lot of, because there's a problem with the English language. English language is very context sensitive. The same word can mean from different things. Because you should be able to, suppose I put depression in YouTube, YouTube should understand, am I a person looking depression from the health context? Am I looking from the, this one, ecology context or economics context? That means it should be able to distinguish. If it is not, then machines cannot do that. So that's what, so you have to remember, like, a broader focus, when we talk about, this one, human, and this one, creativity and so on, I'll just keep this one. And what is advantage? So you can use this machine learning to take advantage. So we can reduce our biological limitation, like autonomous car. I don't believe an autonomous car will work in India. Imagine if you have been to IIT Bombay campus and if you go IIT Bombay outside main gate, there's a hell lot of traffic. Now imagine if you have an autonomous car which actually stops in the center of the signal, what's going to happen? People will not allow it to move. It will just only stationary, because there will be a lot of movement. So Indian roads, it will be difficult. So what is the best way? Work in semi-automated mode. What is semi-automated? Suppose you are driving and there is a fatigue, or your system will immediately tell, hey, something, suppose there is a camera which is capturing your face, it immediately says, it alerts you. There was an accident, I think, long back in BARC campus, especially that mistake happens when we first time learned the driving. Instead of pressing, pedal on brakes, we normally use X, and there were two boys actually playing and they were crushed. Now here you can have a semi-automated learning, because the sensors will immediately stop. Most of the cars have the sensors which tell you when you are taking in rear, it tells you what is the distance left and this one. So similarly, if there are sensors, without using, or waiting for your this one, it automatically applies the brake. So that is what we call as a semi-automated mode. That means we are not giving the entire control to the machines, but we are using whatever best machines can do for us, because they can sit at the night. So simple, suppose there are four lane highways, and suppose left lane the trucks are not supposed to, but trucks is flying are on the, now their cameras can work, because camera can recognize the bigger object and tell, okay, you should be on the left lane, you are on the driving lane. So there these applications can work. So these are some screenshots I have taken. You can go through that. The boy is holding baseball bat. Why? How human intelligence will work? Immediately our intelligence work. Anything you hold in front of your teeth, what will it teeth? Machines will tell you. Why? Because it is looking toothpaste in a silos. It is not putting in the context. So where these machines will fail, this one. This is very interesting. Just read it. Assume that we were playing a Prospero at World Trade Center 9/11 hit. Prospero would have run like a hell, and then we would have run like a hell, but Deep Blue would be just sitting there and comforting. What is a Deep Blue? A machine which is actually used. This is where, because machines don't understand the context. Suppose I have a robot here, robot doesn't understand what's happening. Suppose there's a fire, something, we will run away. But machines, unless and until they have those sensors and everything put, they will know. Because our knowledge is always contextual, that is what. I'll just keep some parts. So this is something, image recognition can go also wrong. There are some examples where it can actually misinterpret. See, image recognition works well when you are taking face recognition, because it's very closed face you are taking. What I'm saying is, suppose somebody is standing on that corner and I'm taking a photo, unless until I have high resolution camera which captures that code, it will be very difficult. That's why a lot of, in US, there's a lot of controversy. People are opposing face recognition system, because what they said, when you are putting a cameras on surveillance, you should have the ideal picture of the person. If you are taking the person's picture in 45 degree, I can challenge 45 degree, it will not work, And if you actually work on a, because when you tilt the face, a lot of features disappear. You see only certain part of it. See, when you are taking a photo in front, you have eyebrows, nose, but moment I tweak my this one, it will be very difficult. So in some cases, it will be, this one. Okay, these are some examples where the machines actually, like why these captures are 4 plus 9 plus 9 plus 4, because we understand it. The machines will not understand, because people can automate this also. You know that, That's why sometimes we say, hey, tell what is a 10 plus 2 is equal to, and then people ask you to enter kind of. This is very funny, Look at this screenshot. I have put PAAS. So as a human beings, what do you understand? P is capital and S is also capital. That means there's something meaning. Machines will not understand. It is showing me something which is completely irrelevant. You know, it's a platform as a service, but it's interpreting as an ASPAS. Now why it goes wrong? The YouTube should understand, I'm logged in person. This person never look at the Hindi content. This person is always browse IT related video. That means whatever he's looking from the context of this one. Here the context is completely missing because machines interpret the things in silos. They don't interpret in the context, you know. This is again those who understand, you know, this was like, this screenshot was taken, this was taken in 2016, nothing is changed. You know, Google is still showing me the same kind of, you know, this one. This is another example. If you go to Stanford Libraries, now what I have put, you know, here, suppose you write a statement, everybody was happy except me. What it means is a positive sentiment or negative sentiment. Suppose I make this statement in front of all of you. Hey, you all seem to be happy, but I'm not happy. Is it a negative sentiment or positive? Negative. It's positive. Because you are all happy. Suppose you 70 are sitting here, I'm just one of the 70. You know, overall it's a happy. But what it will interpret?
But for you it is negative.
No, I'm looking at the context. See, when you write a review is not your personal context. Review is how you are perceiving that particular event. But that also, that's what I'm saying. No, but here, see, when you use the big data you don't use for personal. Big data use for overall perception. Suppose I'm collecting movie reviews, and one of the person says like this. What it means? It's not a negative from that context. It's negative from your own context. If you are looking as this one. But when you are using big data we don't use it from individual context. We try to find out what is an overall sentiment, you know. So here what happens, even if you use the comma and disconnect the sentence, it fails there. You know, you can try it out. You know, I tried lot of, this is a standard, these libraries are available online. So now one of my friends, he works in NLP. He says, why you are writing such sentence? I say, well, how you can stop me writing from this sentence? That means he expects I write the English the way machine understand. That's not in practice. You know, if you go to reviews people write very funny reviews. In fact, their English ka to pura, you know, like there's a lot of spelling mistake, departure spelling, you know, these all kinds of machine slangs people use, shortcuts people use. Now, if you are building your systems on this, you are likely to, you know, this one. Okay. So I'll just keep some, okay, these are again some, this again chatbot also. What I, there's, look at this. I just put, these are actual screenshots. Flight to Bangalore on 30th July, 7 a.m. from Mumbai, Air India. Now look at what chatbot is interpreting. It's interpreting Go Air. Instead of 7 a.m., it's interpreting 7 July. What went wrong? Because you are not understanding the text from the context. You know, when I say buy Air India, why Go Air should come into picture? When I say 7 a.m., immediately, see, chatbot also, most of it, transactional chatbot works well. What is meant by transactional? Tell me how many transactions I have done in the past. It's not that difficult. But if you want to put an English text there, it's likely to this one. Because there's a problem with natural language. You know, people are trying to this is again screenshot. You know, this is interesting. I put SAS and it's showing me SAS bhi kabhi bhul. No relevance at all. You know, this one. This is the funniest screenshot icon. This is where the context misses. You know, my profile doesn't look like I'm a lady. You know, so it's showing, is your husband insisting you are Indian? That means it has not even recognizing my gender. Yahoo, I have been Yahoo user since 1998. What went wrong here? You are not putting the things in context again. This I was talking about the LinkedIn. This is the funniest. Now there must be a lot of data scientists working in, they can afford data scientists from Harvard and IIM Ahmedabad and this one. But look at the condition. Now what is showing? It is actually telling me field engineer who needs 1.5 years of experience. Nowhere my experience is matching with that. Why? There where the semantics went wrong. You know, they are trying to put similarly. See, this is what the recommendation is giving. Now, okay, some academic recommendation it gives me, but it says somebody is looking for assistant professor in health sciences, where my profile is matching. You know, so why this goes wrong most of the time? because there is no semantic model behind. There is no. What is meant by semantic model? If you say NITs, IITs, and KG Somaya, IITs are the premier institution. First, it should not send me any job recommendations at all. Why? Because it should check how many profiles it has who are the IIT professors faculty. How many of them have changed the job? I think not more than 1 or 2%. You know, if you take IIT professors, a typical, once they join normally, it's an IIT is quite, good environment. Why should I leave? So first they should check, out of 100 people, only 1 or 2% has left IIT Bombay. So there is no 98% of the time they should not be sending this at all, job promotion, first thing. Second thing, they should check whether the person who left IIT Bombay joined some KG Somaya college or some college in Mumbai or not. If it is so, then they should. That probability is almost nil, because most of the professors, either they will go to the higher IITs. So if you are in IIT Gandhinagar, you will go to IIT Mumbai or Delhi. And if you are in IIT Delhi or IIT Kharagpur or Bombay, probably you will go abroad. That means what it should do, it should recommend only when there are vacancies in abroad. That kind of intelligence is completely missing. And that's why human intelligence works like that. Will you recommend somebody from IIT professor who is already professor in Premier Institute to go and become an assistant professor? No. And that's why the semantics are missing. This is the last slide. Have you seen this ad? Anybody? This very interesting advertisement. I cannot play this or long. So what this is actually showing? This is a person looking for some TV. He says Chankar TV. He says in Hindi. And this is the internet. They say he's trying to figure out what this person is looking for. And what he does, he gets fed up. And then finally, what this ad shows, whenever there is a human interaction, humans actually understand well. Because sometimes if you are using completely on machine, so this is an interesting ad, you just see that. Okay, so at the bottom, what I say, you use both combination of machine intelligence, human intelligence, wherever there is a cold start problem or machines cannot just get. A lot of common sense use cases. I tell you, you don't really need machine intelligence. Some applications which are very complex, where the databases are very huge, you want to recognize, and you want to say make the citizens life comfortable. The elderly person, they don't have to all the way come to your this one. Then can you use the face, face technology? Or there's an interesting technology, Lively. I like, because so what is rightly saying, if I show my photo, the machines will not understand whether it's a photo on photo or real photo. But if you have some checks where you want a person to move and detect the movement and tell this person is live or something like that, I think that can. Okay, I'll just finish. Thank you. Any questions?
Sir, I have a small question, sir. Maybe this way, sir.
Okay.
Maybe this is not exactly to this context, but since you started with distributed database, so initially we were with distributed database, then we came to centralized database. Now again with blockchain we are going to distributed database.
This is from security. See, I again, as an IT person, I don't want to debate on this one, but all applications don't require. As Pawan was rightly pointed, you got it. Whenever there is a supply chain, whenever there are multiple people involved, there is a credibility issue. For example, a lot of people are using in logistics. So suppose your medicines are getting manufactured in, say, America and getting shipped in somewhere Japan, and there is a lot of value chain. Now you should find somebody has counterfeited or somebody has actually changed the things on the way. That means if there is a multiple players and there is a value chain, there now, for example, like Symbiosis, I was the last one of the girls, she actually applied for PhD, and I asked her a question, like where you want to use the blockchain. She says, I want to use the blockchain to secure State Bank of India's transaction. This is nonsense, because State Bank of India's transaction is their own transaction. It can have its own security, so you can use a lot of encryption. But when there are multiple players and there is a value chain, then this plays very important, because there is a credibility. Land records, nobody should actually tamper. But my SBI's account is with SBI only. It's not actually shared across multiple players. So whenever there is a value, I think next speaker, is going to be, she will explain you, this one. So wherever there are multiple players and there is a or value chain or something, blockchain is required. Otherwise, blockchain, if you have a centralized database and you are only the custodians of that, it's not available anywhere, you really don't need a blockchain. Yeah. So it is from the security context, and it comes with a cost. It's not that easy. When you are distributing, see, that aspect people will not tell you. You did not ask him the cost aspect questions. Nobody asked you. I was expecting, what is the cost of managing blockchain? That's also important. Okay.
Sir, if you can also use, like, we spend some time on artificial neural network, how does it look like? Use like something, maybe for the interest.
I have a complete slide on artificial neural network, but typically what is this? There are a lot of mathematics goes behind this, this one. So what this technology does, it tries to simulate our biological nervous system, the way we actually solve the problem. So take an example of simple classification problem. You want to classify good customers versus bad customers. So it tries to understand the relationship between your independent data and dependent data. The good thing about neural network, you don't have to assume what kind of underlying relationship. In statistical, suppose you are using statistics, you have to say simple curve fitting. You have to understand whether it's a linear, non-linear, whether it's a logarithmic or exponential. But in neural network, what it does, it actually learns all these relationship on its own. One of the drawback for neural networks works like a black box. You give input, it gives output. Don't ask how that output has been arrived. So neural network people, like I used neural network in 1998 as a part of my PhD work. I was trying to analyze some 5,000 companies, fundamental data to predict the price and this one. So you need, one is like neural networks need a lot of understanding actually what is an algorithms to be used. Data is very much, and the data problem, unless until you have some common ID or something it's unified, that's becomes challenge. Pre-processing, cleaning, these are all, I think neural network itself is a bigger topic to discuss with. But typically, these are the technologies which actually can solve much complex problems. They can, deep learning, so you can, when you are using deep learning, it captures very features and this one. You cannot even, imagine. But only, it will not explain you the result. It will say, this is input, this is output, don't ask me what happened in between.